Hello fellow stackers, 365 here, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I wanted to discuss the bank closures that are happening in the UK. Now I have covered this topic before in a previous video, but for those of you that have recently joined the channel, you probably haven't seen it. And it is actually quite staggering the amount of bank branches that the UK are planning to close in 2023. Now, you have to remember that the banks that are closing now are going to eventually reopen. Not all of them, but a lot of them are going to eventually reopen into hubs to help people understand and adopt CBDCs. Now, how I know this is I have some videos on this channel where a bank insider was sending me some emails. The person still sends me emails from time to time with updates of what's going on behind closed doors. And they basically have inside information that a lot of these banks that are closing in the UK are going to be turning into what they're called hubs. Now, you'll be able to go in there regardless of what bank you bank with. And like I said, they'll be helping people that are not too familiar with apps and online banking and that sort of thing, helping them basically get set up and getting them ready for CBDCs. Now, this source that has told me this information is fairly reliable. Like I said, we'll have to wait and see to see if it actually happens. But like I said, the source that is telling me this information is fairly reliable, and a lot of things that they've told me in the past have already started to come true. So, like I said, you've got to do your own research when researching these sorts of topics. I'm just relaying the information that's been communicated to me. And either way, even if these branches aren't going to turn into these kind of hubs for CBDCs, it's scary enough in itself that there are so many bank branches closing here in the UK. Now, I don't know if any of you in America have the statistics to hand to how many branches and banks are closing their branches in America or in Canada or whatever country you are from. But I'll be interested to hear that if any of you kind of have those stats to hand. But I'm going to put a few things on the screen now for you to have a look at as I read through this. And like I said, I have done a video on this in the past, but I wanted to go through it again for those of you that have recently joined my channel, because I know a lot of people have joined my channel because they enjoy hearing about CBDCs and the bank closures and all the rest of it and keeping up to date with what is currently going on. Now, I will leave a link to this website in the description of this video as well, so you can have a read through in more detail. So, because I'm just going to kind of skim through it and summarize it. But here is a list of bank branch closures in 2023. Now, you can see that it says 5,162 banks and building society branches have closed since January 2015. So over 5,000 bank branches have closed in quite a short space of time. Now, there's another 206 that have been announced so far to close just this year alone. So when you think about it, 206 bank branches are no longer going to be there by the end of this year. And like I said, there are plans, from what I've heard, to change a number of these bank branches that are closing down into these kind of hubs to help people get their head around and adopt the idea of CBDCs. So it's happening very, very quickly. It's coming very, very fast. Like I've said before, be your own bank. Get yourself some of this stuff so that you're not relying on your bank holding all your cash for you. Convert some of your fiat currency. And again, this is my opinion. I'm not a financial advisor. This is just what I'm doing. And this is just what a number of people that I've spoken to that have done research into CBDCs and all the bank closures, they also seem to be doing. So, like I said, this is my own bank. This is my own source of cash if I need it. If I need some cash, I can't rely on walking into a bank branch anymore, but I can rely on walking into a coin shop, giving them an ounce of silver and getting some fiat currency if I need it. So like I said, I will leave a link to the website in the description of this video if you want to have a little look and see if your bank branch is closing down. It actually tells you a list of all the banks and how many branches they're planning to close, and it also tells you a detailed list of the actual branches, so it tells you the roads and the postcodes, so you can actually use this website to have a look if your local bank branch is due to close down this year. So yeah, it seems that things are moving along very, very quickly in regards to shifting everything over to CBDCs. It won't be long now before banks are a thing of the past. If they're closing 206 banks down this year alone, and they've already closed down over 5,000 bank branches in the last few years, it just really goes to show you that it's full speed ahead with the CBDC rollout. If they're planning to close down that amount of banks in 1 year alone, and like I said, they've closed over 5,000 branches down since 2015, it's going to soon be a case where there aren't any physical bank branches anywhere. And that's going to be the kind of stage where people are literally forced to adopt CBDCs, because if you haven't physically got a bank, you can't physically walk into a bank to draw cash out. If the bank goes, the ATM machine that goes along with that bank or is attached to that bank, obviously that's not going to be there either. So you can't just walk down to the bank and draw out some cash from a hole in the wall. So it is really, really getting to a stage where people are going to almost be calling out for CBDCs. They're going to be asking for the app. They're going to be going, when can I get hold of CBDCs? Because they're making it to a stage where you can't go and get your cash from the bank. You can't pay money into the bank because these banks are just not going to be there. So that's their kind of tactic they seem to be going with. They're getting to a stage now where they've started off by limiting the amount of cash that you can spend in certain countries. They've started making it more and more difficult for companies to accept cash so that people are forced to pay digitally. Now, the next stage, it seems they're physically closing down the branches to again make it that little bit harder for you to get hold of physical cash. And like I said, it's going to get to a stage where people are actually calling out for CBDCs and they're actually trying to hurry it along. And I think that's the kind of tactic the government are going for. They want it to get to a stage where instead of them having to kind of push CBDCs upon everyone, they're almost trying to flip it around and make it in a situation where people need CBDCs because they haven't got physical banks and it's very difficult to access your money and it's very hard to make payments and all the rest of it. So it's a very sly tactic. It's a very clever tactic. It's one that's being combined with making it harder to pay for things in cash anyway. So yeah, I definitely do see CBDCs being brought into effect in the UK the back end of this year or 2024, because it seems to be moving along very, very quickly. And like I said before, if you go on the Bank of England's website, they've already got a kind of white paper for the digital pound. They're explaining about it all in there. They've actually got something on there where you can have your say about how you feel about it. And not many people know that. And I will leave a link to that form if you want to fill it out in the description of this video. But it's funny that they don't share that link. They don't make that link general knowledge. They don't tell everyone that there's a link that you can click on. You can fill out your thoughts on CBDTs and your feedback and all the rest of it. It's one of them kind of hush hush things where they're like, let us know how you feel about CBDCs, but we're not going to announce that we've got this kind of almost like complaint form on the Bank of England's website. So yeah, it's all very sly in my opinion, and it just shows, like I said, that they're really, really pushing for CBDCs either the back end of this year, in my opinion, or 2024. And let me know what you think about that in the comment section. Do you think the digital pound will be coming out this year, or do you think we've still got a few more years to play with? Either way, it really makes me content that I do have precious metals and I do have my own banking system, if you like, right here in front of me. Like I said, if I want to get hold of cash, I don't need to rely on a physical bank branch. I can walk into a coin shop or a jewelry store or anywhere that accepts this stuff, or even send it off online. I can go on bullion by post, or many other bullion dealers do it. I can send this to them and then I have the fiat currency in my bank. So yeah, it's a way of just being able to get hold of your money. It's a way of being able to know that this is not getting eaten away by inflation by sitting in a bank. And like I said, I do think when CBDCs come out, the amount of handouts and incentives they're going to give to people to join CBDCs, it's really, really going to push inflation through the roof. And they've already adjusted the way inflation is calculated over the last few years since the pandemic. They've made it so that the inflation doesn't seem as high as it is on paper, even though it is still really high on paper. And I do generally think that they're going to play around with the way inflation is calculated again, so that so many people aren't aware of how much your fiat currency is devaluing. And also, they want people to start spending again. So they're going to want to make it look like inflation is going in the right direction, when really, once they start releasing more and more currency into circulation, as you know, that will just increase inflation even more. So yeah, let me know what you think about this video in the comment section. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a nice day. Thanks again for watching this video. If you made it this far, all the way to the end, please do leave a comment in the description below saying cabbage spider. I like to leave random words in the comments section because I think it confuses those people that don't watch these videos to the end. So as always, thanks for watching.